What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another edition of the Everyday Preparedness Podcast, where we're helping you to prepare for life's everyday obstacles. You can find us at everydaypreparedness.net. Hit us up on email if you got a question, a comment, edpreparedness@gmail.com. Hit us up on Twitter at edprepare, facebook.com/edprepare. Like the page, drop us a line, let us know what you think. We also have the YouTube page where we're going to start getting some more product review videos up. And you can check out the podcast if you'd like to view them that way. Subscribe to the page. You get notifications every time we have a new page. That was a mouthful. Brent, how's it going?
Not too bad, man. You?
Doing good. Today, we're going to talk about get-home bags. You heard us mention them before. Last couple episodes, we've been talking about some different kinds of preparedness things. Everyday carry, and combined with your vehicle kit, anything you can keep in your car. So the next step is the get-home bag. And there's some preconceived notions with get-home bag. A lot of times people get them confused with bug-out bags. They're not bug-out bags. The get-home bag is designed really to get you from point A to point B as soon as you can and survive. In my opinion, it's generally needing to last you around 24 hours worth of survival. And you should always have it with you. I like to leave mine in my car, but I just like it that way because if I get stranded somewhere and I need to leave, I can just take the bag and go. But if I'm riding with someone else that's driving, I'll bring my bag with me and I'll leave it in their car. So just right off the bat with the get-home bag, Brent, what are your thoughts?
It needs to be something mobile, something that, like you said, you can just throw on your back. A backpack's fantastic. Something you can throw on and move with. You're not necessarily trying to plan for every possible potentiality, but you're setting yourself up to get from wherever you may be. Most instances it'll be work, maybe a friend's house, something like that. And in the event that you need to get home on foot or with very limited supplies, this bag needs to last you probably 24 hours. You start getting a whole lot more than that. You start adding a lot of weight. You start making it a little bit heavier, a little more obvious, and a little bit harder to take with you everywhere. And that's one of the big things with this, is it's something, like you had touched on, it's something that you need to take with you everywhere, or at least have, within a fairly quick grab.
And one other thing I'll add, too, is the name Get Home Bag, and what you said is, getting you from point A to point B. That's the ideal point, but there is certain situations where it's going to come in handy if you're in kind of a bunker down situation. Maybe there's a tornado coming, or maybe you're in an ice storm, you're caught somewhere, not at your house. Well, that's just turned into kind of your bug in bag or bug out bag,
Yep.
and it's better than nothing. And like you said, Brent, you keep it with you all the time. That's if you're not going to have a bug out bag, this is definitely something.
And it's one of those things that if you build right, like you said, it'll complement your everyday carry stuff that's already on you. It'll complement your car carry stuff. And chances are a lot of it, if planned correctly, will actually stretch past 24 hours if it does need to become kind of a makeshift bug-out bag. It may be a little tight, but, like you said, it's better than nothing.
You just touched on it, incorporating it with EDC and your vehicle kit. A lot of this stuff you're not going to be able to fit in the bag because, as you said, you want to keep mobile and you want to keep it light. But in an emergency situation, you're going to probably be able to grab a lot of the stuff. If you've got a couple bottles of water, some Cliff Bars, maybe a little extra tool, a shovel, a firearm, whatever it is, you could probably grab that stuff and carry it on your person, separate from your get-home bag. So that's something. It took me a while to kind of figure that out when I was first getting into this, that I just had this mindset that, okay, I need to fit all this stuff in the bag. But it doesn't work that way because you can incorporate so many things. You can leave stuff out of the bag that you're carrying on your person, on your EDC. So you might, even though we like to preach redundance of different ways to do things, there are certain situations where you could probably not do something because you already have at least something else on you. So let's jump right into the bag. There's different ways you can carry it. There's no right or wrong, I suppose. Backpack is a way, messenger bag, any kind of just small bag. And I like to recommend getting it as light and compact as possible, to the point where, Brent, this was actually your original idea, the fanny pack. You could get a larger size fanny pack if you could get it down to that small, which I kind of think it's going to be hard to do. Yep. But for certain situations and certain people, they might be able to get it that small, and that would be great. So I'm not, the backpack is going to be the cheapest, easiest, but With the redundance thing, let's say you needed it for other purposes and you had your bug out bag, which that's going to be a backpack most likely. Then you've got two backpacks. You can't really, do much with that. But if you've got a messenger bag, you can sling that over your shoulder plus wear a backpack at the same time. Or you can get other bags, really small bags that have like MOLLE straps on them, so you could attach that to your bug out bags, and kind of a modular system, I guess you could say. So, what do you have to say on the bags? What's your preference? What do you like, dislike?
I prefer just a backpack. That's what I have. If I'm at home and I need to get somewhere, I'm probably going to grab the bigger, heavier bug out bag versus my get home bag, just, in case, if I had to choose. But I like the backpack. It's easy. You can throw it on your back. Your hands are still free. A duffel bag, I think you're going to end up running into more problems. I mean, if it's all you got, it's all you got, make do with what you have. I haven't thought too much about a messenger bag. I haven't ever messed with them a whole lot, honestly. I mainly go backpack. You could go real crazy if you wanted to. If money's not an option, there are some fantastic bags out there that, like you said, were modular. Is it Everly stock? They make one. And, I mean, like, their stuff's almost like Legos, some of it is. Like, you can break it off and you have, like, this other whole different bag that, snaps into this other bag. And, I mean, the next thing you know, you've got this huge behemoth that you can carry most of your house in.
But you could break it up for each one of your needs, and that's what's awesome about it.
Right, but you're also going to spend $400 to $600.
Right, yeah, uh-huh.
And that's where, something like you say, like a messenger bag or even a fanny pack or something like that, if you can break it up, if you ever had to combine them, it would be a lot easier with the modularity. It's hard for people to do. I don't have $400, $500, $600 to drop on bags like that, so I just carry I went to Walmart and bought a backpack with some MOLLE straps on it, and that's what I use. And honestly, it served me pretty well.
I guess I got lucky with mine as far as my get-home bag. I'm actually trying to look for it online right now. I looked before the show, and I could not find the brand or anything. So I was just strolling through Walmart one day. It was right around winter time. A lot of times around the winter, they bust out the stuff for hunters, and, of course, the ice and snow. They put a lot of, I guess you could call it preparedness items out there for people. They think that people might have a hard time in the woods or on the road. So they start bringing out different things you can buy. And I just happened to find one day I was rolling through, and there's this little black bag. I would say it's maybe 8 inches wide and maybe about a little over a foot long. And it actually came filled with all kinds of stuff, water, flashlight, of course the stuff is really cheap, but it just had all that stuff already built in it, and I think it was around $35. But the thing that really got me was the bag. It was so small, and the bag had actual MOLLE straps on it, where I could strap that to my MOLLE on my bug out bag, so I've got that kind of the modular aspect of that, and I really didn't spend very much money. If I ever do find the brand, like I said, I looked everywhere on the bag, and I could not find the brand of this thing anywhere. So I'm trying to look online while we're recording the show. If I do find it, I'll bring it up. I think, personally, you got to try to get the smallest bag you can for the money. The one we threw in my wife's car was just a messenger bag we had laying around, and it actually, the size hasn't been a problem. You can't kind of organize things as much as you'd like to, but it's definitely better than nothing, and we didn't spend a dime on it. That's the whole idea of getting started, is just having something around you that something is better than nothing. We always preach that. So if you could do something like that for free, go for it. And then when you do have the money later on, you can upgrade. So any last thoughts on bags?
Yeah, one thing I'll say that I personally enjoy, my get-home bag, honestly, is fairly sparse. I, maybe wrongly, you can call it out if you want. Assume that I can withstand a lot of stuff in 24 hours to make it from point A to point B, or, to survive a 24-hour window. So in that case, I have it fairly sparse, but the nice thing about that is I have a little bit of room for expansion. Like if I come across something I need that I may not have completely planned for and had in the bag, I've got room to put it. So, the small is good, especially if you're going to have to combine it with a bug out bag or something like that. I mean, the last thing you want to do is start, trying to carry around 16 different backpacks just to have everything. But at the same time, it's also nice. And what I did is I whittled it down. I whittled my get-home bag down from where it originally started.
Me too.
And that actually allowed me room to expand it later on if I needed to without having to change bags or anything like that. Even in an emergency situation, I've got room to throw an extra, pair of clothes or extra med kit or, what have you. So.
One more thing I'll bring up on the bags before we move on, and it really doesn't have anything to do with any of the bags even. It's just kind of paying attention, when you go to the store, looking for any kind of preparedness items kind of in the most unlikely places. And it could be anything from a dollar store up to a hardware store or sporting goods store. You never know when you're going to find something that you're like, oh, well, I could put this in the bag, or, oh, this bag is actually better than the bag I have. So just keep your eyes open for any kind of preparedness items outside the box that you'd think of that you might be able to get good deals on. Next up, this is the first thing that I would put in my get-home bag would be a heavy-duty military poncho with the grommets. The reason you want the grommets is so you can, hook a carabiner or some paracord or twine, whatever, or, whatever you can use to hold this thing up for shelter. You can make a little tent out of it, a lean-to, different kind of things. So, Brent, what do you got to say on the military poncho, or would you add something else first off?
No, I mean, as far as for shelter goes and everything, the poncho is going to be fantastic. If you don't have or can't find those specific types, you can use everything from a trash bag or a small tarp. Some sort of poncho is good if you're going to get it. Make sure you get the ones, like you said, with the grommets. Because if not, you lose a lot of usage without them. So I would probably, like I said, I assume my body and mine can withstand a lot in a 24-hour period. Shelter was not my first concern. Mine was water, but I know we'll get to that later on. And the poncho is very high up because, if you're in a torrential downpour, you got to try and stay as dry as you can. Keep your gear dry and everything else, and without a way to cover it, you may end up SOL.
Yeah, you bring up the good point, water. Well, let's get to that in just a second. One other thing I want to add that would be to go with the poncho would be a minimum of 100 feet of paracord and some carabiners, because that both of those are so versatile. You're going to be able to make shelter, but you can also do other kind of things with them. So anything else as far as the shelter aspect before we go ahead and move on to water?
No, just be sure whenever you're buying the carabiners, buy some. You don't have to go get the fancy, expensive, climbing ones, but make sure you're not getting the ones that are going to tear apart, real easy. Because, if you've got it tied down and wind starts tugging, last thing you need to do is your poncho to take off on you. So. Right.
And another thing on the poncho, I've seen a lot of people that will get the, just like the 97-cent rain ponchos. Guys, that's not going to cut it. It's not going to hurt to throw one or two of those in extra with your kit. Maybe you want to do that instead of carrying trash bags. So that's not going to hurt, but you'd need to get, something really heavy duty. That's going to cost you maybe like, $20 or something like that at a Army surplus store or something like that. So.
Yep.
Next off, we'll move on to water, and I'll let you take this since you mentioned it. So go ahead.
Well, the two big important things. The first thing I added to my bag was I got a good filter straw. I figure, you can always find cups and this and that if nothing else. But I wanted a good filter. I actually used the one we sell in the store, which is the Life Straw. I've used it in puddles and everything else. I've never suffered any ill effects around here. That's good enough for me. And that's kind of the big thing for water. It's nice to have a bottle. I carry one that I don't remember, I think I got it somewhere cheap, like Walmart Academy or something. It'll fit the straw right down the center of it, and, I can just use the straw right there out of the cup. I don't have to drink from the pond or whatever, leaning over or anything like that. So make sure, that kind of complements each other a little bit, but just a good, cheap bottle. You don't want anything that's going to tear up real easy, unless, you've got a couple others there, but just for the sake of space. I just used a cheap one I found that seemed, pretty decent, just a little sports bottle and a filter straw.
Okay, so I've got some. Is that all your water options, or do you have anything else?
Well, no, you could get just your regular, like regular bottled water. That way you've got it with you, and that's great. I tend to think that I'll end up busting that or something. I keep them in the car and there again, the expanding bag, I can grab them, throw them in the bag, and leave. But that's actually, I don't keep just a regular already filled bottle of water. I figure I'll forget it or something. Who knows what'll happen.
Well, it's interesting. We got different takes on water. So I actually did not have water as, just generalized water on my list at all. I've got water purification tablets, and I've got a coffee filter to use to filter the water, and a bandana for a possible filtration system as well. Or you could use that as for, numerous other things.
Right.
One other thing that I have is collapsible water bottle or some sort of bladder, something you can roll up and just stuff in the bag. But hey, if you need to fill it with water, you can fill it. The reason I didn't list the Life Straw is because it's in my vehicle and it's right by my bag. So if I do need to carry it, I'm going to be able. I could not fit it into my bag because my bag is so small. But all I got to do is strap it to it or throw it in my pocket, as I said earlier.
Yeah, and it's so light, it's easy to, do that with. So
exactly, and the same thing with the bottled water. I have bottled water sitting, right beside my get-home bag. So all I got to do is take some of that and throw it in my pocket. So it's interesting. We got different takes on water. I'm kind of with you. Like I don't think I would carry bottles of water because of the weight and because of them possibly, leaking and all that good stuff.
Yeah, and I mean, you got to think this is for 24 hours. You can survive 24 hours without water. It's not necessarily going to be comfortable, especially if it's hot. I mean, it's going to be miserable. You're not going to like it. If it's too hot, then you may need to make some different plans. But chances are you're going to live in an area where you could survive 24 hours without water. Having the straw as light and small, or even just the purification tablets, I mean, whatever you can get that fits. Getting a little bit of water in you is great, but at the end of the day, if you can't get to water within 24 hours, you can survive it, although you may not enjoy it.
And I think that's maybe one reason I did not have that first on my list, because I was thinking, as I said, I was thinking that, hey, that's in my vehicle. I'm going to grab that stuff anyway and put it in my pockets, because I've got the LA Police Gear tactical pants with the gigantic pockets. There's like 9 pockets, and I could just throw that stuff in there.
Yep.
So that's one reason, everyone, why I did not have that in my bag as first. I was actually mentally seeing everything I had written down, like how it was packed into my bag. And speaking of that, before we go any further, I did find that bag online while we were just talking, and the company that makes it is called Elite First Aid Incorporated, it looks like. And the bag is called the Rapid Response Bag. It's got bandages. It's got, ammonia inhalants, suture package, a hemostat, tweezers, shears. I think it's got some water in it, tape, gloves. It's got all kinds of stuff. And the bag itself looks to be about 11 by 6 by 6.5. So that's pretty close to what I had said it was. And they've got different products too. So I mean, check out everything they have. I'm looking at fanny packs right now, the like bigger sized fanny packs. So there's all different kinds of stuff in here. Just make sure to check it out. I guess I should have said those bags are running, looks like anywhere between $50 and $60. So, but that's the smallest bag with the MOLLE straps that I could find to attach to the bag. So, moving on to, let's talk about food. I mean, we've talked a little bit in our last episode about food to keep in your car. Honestly, with trying to keep your space and your weight down as low as possible, I don't see any other thing to put in your bag besides Cliff Bars. Do you?
No, not at all.
They've got they have a load of carbohydrates and protein and calories, and if you're just supplying for one person, 3 to 5 of them should get you by for 24 hours, I would say, even if you got to work a little bit.
Well, I was going to say, even that, I mean, honestly, just 1 or 2 for 24 hours. I mean, yeah, you're going to be hungry, but your body will have fuel. And those Cliff Bars have enough good stuff in them that, it'll help, keep you going more than a lot of the other stuff you might put in there would. And there's no prep. You just tear it open and, go to town.
Definitely the food in the get-home bag. Keep it simple. Keep everything in the get-home bags simple. This isn't you're not planning to go camping for a week out of this thing, so just keep that in mind when you're thinking about food. And the shelf life of this thing, you could put this in your bag and not have to rotate it for a year and a half. And I've even eaten them out of date before and had no issues with 6 months to 8 months out of date, and didn't have any issues. But because they're so small, and you can even make them smaller by like kind of stuffing them in the bag. I really don't see any reason why this should be your choice. It's cheap, and like you said, one or two might be enough. But hey, if you've got the extra room, put an extra couple in there. You might be able to help somebody else down the road. So,
Yep.
Anything else on the food regarding the get home bag?
Just something I do in my bag. Maybe you don't. I don't know. But I store my Cliff Bars in good sealer bags.
No, I don't do that because I actually haven't thought about that, and my bag is so small that everything is so packed in together that I don't know that I have room for it, honestly.
Well, the reason I do it is it gives me another bag to hold stuff if I need to.
That's a great idea.
You want to get a good one. Don't get the cheap, crappy ones that can't hold water, and stuff like that. I mean, get a good, solid bag that, you can turn upside down full of liquid. Because, maybe your water bladder busts, maybe you lose your bottle, who knows. You can always get water out of that. I mean, there's a ton of uses for bags. And, you've got it to keep your food. And also, if you throw your food in there, even some of the Cliff Bars, may break open. Some of it's got chocolate, whatever, may leak. You never know, may leak out all over. At least keep that from happening, if nothing else.
No, that's a good idea, and I've done that with not the seal bags, but like a standard Ziploc. I might take multiple Ziploc bags and wrap up, say, batteries, flashlight, a lighter, anything that's breakable. I've done that. Hand sanitizer, I've done that with. Yep. So we've got food, we've got water, we've got shelter. I think the next thing on the list is probably fire. What do you think?
Yeah, fire's an important one too. So being able to stay warm, protect yourself even, there's all types of good stuff with fire. So
what are you using in yours for fire, like a starter and then tinder?
I use a Bic lighter. I actually have, I think I bought like a 5 or 6 pack from Walmart for just a few dollars.
As much as we talk about Bic lighters, they should also sponsor the show. What do you think?
Oh, I'm telling you, Bic, Cliff Bars, and like Ziploc bags. I mean, for real.
And LA police gear.
Yes, please, any of them. But no, I did. I just bought like the 5 or 6 pack of Bic lighters, found a way to put them in there where they wouldn't break, and I just left them in the package and everything. For tinder stuff, in that, all I use is cotton balls and petroleum jelly. And I have not combined them already. I just keep them separate because you can always use cotton balls for other things, and you can always use petroleum jelly for other things.
Interesting. We're kind of on the same path, but yet different. We'll start off with the lighters. I think I have about, again, I'm don't have very much room in my bag, and that's by design. But I think I have 2 lighters in there, but I also carry another one with my EDC. So you got a total of 3. And then I have waterproof or weatherproof matches also in there, a small package of those.
Yeah, I think I've actually got a couple of those in there too, actually. So
that's more of like a last resort thing, obviously, because we're big time into the lighters. I don't carry the flint thing or the steel wool and battery. I don't mess around with that, to be honest, and that might not be popular in the prepper community, but frankly, I don't care. You can't beat a Bic lighter.
Right.
So the cotton balls and the petroleum jelly, I do the same thing, but I actually made mine ahead of time. I did not kind of think the same way you did about how they have multiple uses, which you're totally accurate on that. But I was thinking more of, hey, I need to get this done now, and I'm just light it. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And I think I have about 5 or 6 of those, and even though I have them wrapped in a Ziploc bag, but then twisted off individually so they don't all get stuck together. And then if you absolutely had to, just light the whole bag on fire if you really, really had to. And that's going to be the quickest way to get a fire going. So, and then maybe, we've talked about the extra cloth you could keep in your vehicle. Maybe that's something you could just throw in your pocket, cut off a strip of an old T-shirt or an old rag or towel, light that thing on fire if you don't have anything else. So, anything we're forgetting on that?
That's all I've got. I mean, there's always other options and everything you can use, of course. But like I said, this is a 24-hour bag. This is... if nothing else in your gear subscribes to this philosophy, this needs to. It's the kind of the keep it simple, stupid.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
There is nothing more straightforward than a Bic lighter and a cotton ball soaked in petroleum jelly.
So what's next on your list? I'll let you take anything else.
I've got a med kit and kind of stuff like that. I don't have a big fancy thing. I'm not trying to conduct field surgery, although I've actually got a little bit of like a suture kit and everything in there. But just a good med kit just for, the bumps and scrapes and cuts and sprains. and I just went to Walmart, bought one, and then I added a little bit here and there. That would be probably my next thing on the list.
See, that's something that I do have in there, but that was one of the last things I put in mine. Number one, because of space. Again, I'm working with a really tiny bag, but it can fit anywhere and it's lightweight. So there's pros and cons with either way you do it. But the second thing is that I already have one with my EDC, and I basically just duplicated the same thing I have in my EDC in my get home bag. So I have two of the same thing, which is just basically more, which is what you may need in a situation like this. But that was further down on my list only because I already have that stuff in EDC. So that's why it didn't make it into my main bag. It was kind of in my only if you have additional room kind of thing.
Right. And I've also got, I included sanitation equipment and everything with that. I'm not talking about, the little pop-up showers and this and that. I mean, I've got, a small bottle of hand sanitizer and some of those little, individual use toothbrushes. I've got, one of those and a small bottle of hand sanitizer.
The small bottle of hand sanitizer is exactly what I have also. That's kind of also in my if you have room category.
Right.
But even though you should be able to fit that in there. And another reason I would fit that in there is because it's an excellent fire starter, too, if you can't find anything else. You're kind of killing two birds with one stone on that. Let me add one more thing kind of on the if you have room for category. Very, very small funnel. Especially if you're going to try, filter something. That's going to be an excellent tool to get water into your collapsible water bottle or a canteen or whatever you got on you. That's just an extra little tool. And a lot of them will come with a little chain, the real small ones will come with a chain or something like that you can attach to the bag. You don't actually have to carry it in the bag. Just kind of something a little extra I threw out there. So,
and if you find yourself something along the lines of the funnel, if you find yourself in a pinch, but you have a a Gatorade bottle, Pepsi bottle, whatever, cut that in half and take that with you.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not great, it's not fancy, but like you said, there are some uses for it, and, that's a good, cheap, easy one to have. So
next on my list is lighting, and I've got a smaller, I'm already carrying 2 flashlights on me with my EDC that are really, really good lights, and I just have kind of stuffed in the side pocket one of those mini mag lights, and extra set of batteries for that, of course. And that's just another option, but I think one of the best options probably you can throw in the get-home bag for just size, price, everything are glow sticks. They're cheap, inexpensive. They do work pretty well for an extended period of time. Just carry a couple on you. What do you have to opinion on lighting?
I have a mini mag light that is actually in my bag, but it's mainly just there in case the one that I always carry on my EDC fails. I don't carry glow sticks. I understand why people do and everything. It's something that I haven't decided I need yet. I figure, if I'm that far off, I guess it'd be fine, but I just haven't decided that the glow sticks are something I need.
And again, that's something that, me and you can differ on, but there's no right or wrong. It's just differences of opinions, different ideas. So everybody listening, just because one of us has something the other one doesn't have, that doesn't mean, one of us is right, one of us is wrong. We're disagreeing. It's just different things for you guys to think of. And there's, maybe you want to carry candles. I wouldn't do that, but maybe that's an option, and maybe it's a cheap option. Hey, better than nothing. Just you got to do what you got to do, anything to prepare. So what do you got next?
I'm actually starting to get into more the tools and protection and stuff like that. If I can't have anything else, one thing I really want to have is a good knife.
Agreed.
I actually, with what's in my get-home bag, would have a total of 5 knives on me.
Now, is that counting your EDC too?
Yes, that is counting my EDC. I actually carry 2 folders and a fixed blade EDC every single day, everywhere I go that I can legally carry a blade into.
Now, just for people who want to know, why would you want to carry that many knives? Give your reasoning.
Well, this may get a little bit kind of paranoid territory. I carry one knife on my left side in my pocket as just kind of an everyday beater, cut boxes, stuff like that I need to use. It is a self-defense knife, but it deploys very, very slowly. And like I said, it's the doll beater that, I use to cut boxes and do everyday, chores with. Then I carry a much nicer, much faster deployment Benchmade Griptilian, which if you guys can spend the money and get one, I wholeheartedly believe you should. They are an absolutely fantastic knife. I keep it in my right hand just because I figure if I'm ever in a self-defense situation, I'm going to need my left hand since I am left-handed. Trying to keep the thread away, which gives my right hand a chance to do something. And then I also carry a fixed blade, which I carry a SE Azula, which if you have large hands is probably not the knife for you. The grip is very, very small. I have smaller hands, so it's absolutely fantastic. SE has a fantastic, you break it, they replace it for life, warranty. They expect you to abuse their stuff, and they expect their stuff to take it. The only thing they don't guarantee is if it rusts, and if it rusts, it's your fault, which is how they look at it. I carry it just in case, I need something that's kind of short and stout, and that's what that's for. It's a fantastic knife as well. Those are all kind of secondary options to my firearm that I carry every day on me. I'm kind of getting a little ahead of the game there on that. In the get-home bag, I carry an SE4. Actually, I lied. I carry an SE3. The reason I went down to the 3 instead of the 4 is the 3 actually has the breaker, the glass breaker pommel on the back end of it. Other than that, it's basically the same knife. The 4 is a little bit bigger, but it is a fantastic, just all-around field knife. If it'll do any type of cutting you need, and that's kind of all that really needs said. They're high, but I want a good knife. I don't want to trust my life to a $10, pawn shop knife. And I've had those, and, the thing looked cool. Second I needed to use it, I actually broke the blade in half. Gratefully, I wasn't the guy on the Home Shopping Network with the sword.
Yeah, if you guys don't know what that is, you gotta look it up on YouTube. He's selling products he's selling cheap products that are gimmicks. And that's why you want to spend a good amount of money on a good product and just be done with it.
Yeah. But there are good knives out there. You actually got which one did you end up getting? Was it the K-Bar?
No, I'll kind of backtrack a little bit. We're getting on to a show about knives here. I have the same, the SE knife. I have that exact same one, and I can't say enough good things about it. But I'm actually looking up the name here. Yeah. So I bought this knife actually as a everyday carry knife, but then I realized once I got it how big it was, and I was like, and the sheath that it came with, and I'm a huge sheath guy. If it's not a good sheath, I'm not carrying it. And I noticed how big this thing was, and the sheath sucked. So I was like, what am I going to do with this thing? And I looked at my get-home bag, and with the MOLLE straps is a perfect spot for it on the outside. And it's the SOG Mini Pentagon knife. It's a smaller blade length, I think it's just under 4 inches, but it is a fixed blade knife. It's got a really good grip, and I think it was like $40 or something like that. So, and I have another even better one in my bug out bag. We'll get to that at some other point, but that's I just carry the one fixed blade knife on my get home bag, but I also carry. You're talking about tools. One other thing I carry is a small pry bar, and I think it was a Stanley brand. Yep. They sell this great little tool, and I think it was like $12, $14, something like that. You've got a tool, you got a defensive weapon, all in one for very little price, and it fits right in the bag easily or on the outside of the bag if you've got the straps. So, that's what I've got. So, or what else are we missing as far as tools or knives go?
As far as tools or knives, I think I've pretty much convinced everybody I carry at least way too many.
Yeah, and we'll do for everybody. We'll do another show where we start breaking down more of this stuff, like different kind of levels of knives and what they're for, why you would want to even have certain ones over certain others. So we'll move into that at a later point. So,
but another on tools is a good multi-tool. Now I don't keep one in my bag because I keep one on me.
Same here. You should just pony up the money to get a really good one that you carry on you, and then you don't have to worry about it.
Yeah, but if for some reason you can't, get a good one. I mean, like, get a good Leatherman, do your research. I ended up buying a SOG, like I said on a previous podcast, where, I could exchange all the tools on it. And, that to me was worth, the money. But get a good Leatherman, get a good solid, even a good Gerber. They make some good ones. Just get a good one and have it either on you all the time or in the bag, because they're fantastic.
SOG makes really good products, everybody. So, between the two of us, I don't know how much we've got of theirs, but we're big fans. So SOG and Cold Steel also makes awesome stuff. So.
Yeah, and if you just really want to kill like a weekend, like a good night or something, go to Cold Steel's website and watch their videos. These people literally try to destroy their stuff, and I mean it's a lot of fun to watch. So
it's not the Home Shopping Network cutlery corner, that's for sure.
No, it's not, and it's just Chinese war sword and a pig's head. I mean, it's that type stuff, and it's fantastic.
So next on my list is space blankets and like emergency bivvies. You may be in a spot where you've got to lay down and you've got to sleep for a while, or you may be in a spot where you're just cold. And I know those space blankets, they're cheap and they're not that great, but they're fold up into a very tiny compartment of your bag, and it's definitely going to be better than nothing, especially combined with any kind of clothing you already have, maybe anything you have in your EDC that would complement that. And then, of course, the emergency bivvies, which is kind of like really, really tiny sleeping bags, if you don't know what that is. Mine rolls up to about, it's about the size of half of a Coke can.
Yep.
So it's pretty small, pretty easy to throw in there. Anything to add on that, or anything you want to add?
No, I got both of those in there. I know if like you're in your car or something, you got a blanket like we talked about, on a previous podcast as well. You can always grab your blanket, if you've got room for it. But if you don't, those things, like you said, they're not that great, but they are better than nothing. And honestly, some of those bivvies aren't that bad, really.
No, the bivvies are excellent, and I just carry the space blankets to go on top of the bivvies because I think people underestimate how cold you can get.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I mentioned on a previous podcast about how my heat went out in my house. I still had power, but your heat goes out and it's 10 degrees or below outside. You kind of underestimate that. I mean, I had probably 5 layers of clothes on, including a coat, in the house, and I was still cold. So if you were to get stuck outside, or maybe you have to get into an abandoned building or stay over at somebody's house or stay at a hospital or something, you never know when you're going to need this stuff. So that's why we just keep trying to push this. So what do you got next on your list?
Next on mine, we'll probably go with like just a quick change of clothes, and I don't mean like a full ensemble change. I keep like a pair of pants and a t-shirt. And I have room in my bag. You may not, but that's something that I like to have just in case.
So I don't have them in my bag per se, but as we said in the last episode, I do have an average sized backpack that's full of clothes and full of, beanies and hoodie, gloves, just some other, extra tools. And my idea with that is most of the time I don't get out much, and any time I am out, like if I'm at work or something, I'm within distance of my car. It shouldn't be a problem to get to my car. So my thought on that is I can wear the backpack as a backpack, and then my get-home bag, it actually has the MOLLE straps, as I said, but this backpack does not have MOLLE straps, so I can't attach it that way. But the get-home bag does have a over-the-shoulder strap that you can just apply to it immediately, so I can carry something over my shoulder, kind of like a messenger bag, and carry the backpack at the same time. So you got dual purpose, and you can carry double the stuff. It just more modular. I really like the modular aspect of taking an approach to any kind of preparedness. So that's my.
But if you're you're exactly right. But if you're not going to have like any sort of extra clothes or anything, at the very least have a good pair of gloves. Be it like a good winter pair to keep your hands warm, or a good work pair, like a good solid leather pair of gloves. Because you never know, you may need to move something. May need to do some work, protect your hands. A good pair of gloves is fantastic to have.
Next on my list is I've kind of got 4 things left, and then that's all I've got. So I'll just throw them all out there, and it's kind of a mixed bag of stuff. Some form of hearing protection. Now, I'm not going to want to wear the giant headphones style. You're going to want to just pick up some of the ones that you see at the range or pick up at Walmart or something. Not so much for the shooting purpose. I mean, yeah, that's going to be helpful. But just in general, you don't know where you're going to get stuck, what kind of noises are going to be around you, anything like that. So that's definitely something good to keep. Cash. I don't know how many times I say this on your EDC, in your vehicle, definitely your get home bag. Just have a small amount of cash. Have $20. I mean, it's very simple. When you get paid, take $100 and divvy that up into $20 bills. Put $20 in your EDC, put $20 in your vehicle, put $20 in your get home bag even. I mean, it's something that simple that could totally bail you out down the road. And then the last thing I've got is basically ammo and magazines. Yeah. I don't know how much of that you can fit in there, and based on what you carry on a regular basis, that's going to vary, and based on the weight. There's a lot of variables in that, but yeah, you need to have some kind of protection as far as firearms go. And whatever you're going to carry on you or whatever you have on you, maybe you don't. Maybe you're just going to have the long gun, like what we said in the last podcast. Maybe you're just going to you're going to sling the rifle over your shoulder if you got to get home for protection. So just carry some extra shells with you or something like that. What do you have to add on that stuff? And then you can add anything else that I've forgotten.
I like the hearing protection. I went and bought at Walmart. You can get them really cheap. Mine are bright neon yellow. Just go back by, the where the ammo and all that stuff is. And I mean, I think it cost me like $1 for like 3 pair of them. And they work really good. Like you said, you never know where you're going to end up being. And this is just kind of a religious thing with me, I carry a Bible in my get-home bag. Maybe it's superstition, maybe you're not religious, that's fine. I carry a Bible, I carry a notebook, and I carry some pens and whatnot in there as well. Just something, I guess, if I get bored or, feel I need some hope, if nothing else.
Let me add one thing on those real quick. I do carry an extra Sharpie and an extra pen because what you just said, if you get bored and you need to write, maybe you need to make some notes. I have all that stuff on my EDC, but it never, a pen and a Sharpie doesn't take up hardly any room, so you might as well throw them in there. Yep. I do not have a Bible in my get-home bag because I do not have room. I do have one in my bug-out bag, but we'll get to that next show, which, wait for that one. But, let's think that you bring up a good point, too. The Bible could be, you're going to be reading it. Let's think about entertainment. I know it sounds stupid. You're only going to need to survive for 24 hours, but have a Bible, have a little deck of playing cards, something, even just a pad. Maybe you just writing your thoughts down, keeping notes of what's going on. Maybe that's something that's going to entertain and kind of help you get your mind off of a bad situation that's going on. But
yeah, exactly. I was going to say one thing to do. I went to Walmart and I paid $5 for a Bible that's, the thing's, 4 by 5 inches, I think, and it's only like an inch thick. And inside that, I've got kind of marked passages that, kind of inspire me to keep going when I feel bad or down or whatever. Even if you're not particularly religious, find something. You never know why you may end up in the situation where you need to get home back. Sometimes it could be dark, sometimes it could be bad. And maybe you just need something to kind of lift your spirits just a little bit, give you just a little bit of hope. Like I said, 24 hours, usually that's not going to be a big deal, but I thought, hey, it never hurts to carry an extra Bible. The other thing I will get into is firearms. I carry a minimum of 1 handgun on me at all times. I've actually gotten into the habit since I've lost weight, and I physically can, of carrying 2 as part of my everyday carry. So in my get-home bag, I have an extra mag for each. I don't carry any extra ammo on me. On my EDC, I don't carry any extra ammo except what's in the second gun. If you are going to carry a gun, of course, we wholeheartedly endorse and, encourage you to do so. Make sure you have one that is reliable and easy to take care of. 1911s are great. I've got one. They're heavy. There's not a whole lot of capacity in them, and they're not the easiest things to break down and take care of and keep clean. They're kind of a little bit of a chore till you get used to doing it. So if you are going to carry a gun, obviously besides, training with it and, knowing, which way to point it, of course, but make sure it is a good, solid, reliable gun. Don't go buy, if all you can afford is a high point, go buy a high point. But if you can afford a better gun, by all means do so. Do not skimp out on a gun just for the sake of throwing one in.
Do we have anything else?
No, just like I said, make sure you've got good ammo. You know, if you like revolvers, get a good revolver. Just don't get a high point. Zan and I have had a bad experience with a high point.
Yeah.
And it's not good.
One thing I'll throw out there, if you're wanting a firearm, and we'll do shows on this. I keep saying that because we've got so much planned for the future of this show and the website. But one thing I've found that's actually gotten pretty good reviews and is relatively affordable are the Kel-Tecs. And that's, 9mm, 22, any of that stuff. It's just that brand seems to put out, pretty solid products for the price. What's your thoughts?
I've actually only heard good things out of Kel-Tecs. I shot one of their 380s. I don't remember the model name. It's one of their little bitty mouse guns. I mean, I think you can buy them like 2.5, somewhere around that range. At least at that time, and I think the price has gone up since then. But, I mean, they were honestly pretty cheap. And, I mean, the thing rattled like a maraca. But it didn't matter. But, I mean, in all honesty, it didn't matter what ammo was thrown into it. I mean, that sucker fired everything. I mean, it would fire that dirty, tool ammo stuff and, the wolf. I mean, just you name it, the thing fired it every single time. And at the end of the day, that's what you want. I wouldn't recommend a 380. I am not a caliber snob. If you're comfortable with a 380, by all means, go with it. The reason I don't recommend it is most of the 380 guns are small, and I cannot stand the recoil on them. They're actually worse than some of the 45s I've shot. And I'll get a little bit bigger gun, just to avoid that extra little bit of recoil stuff. So, you can call me whatever names you want, but some of those mouse guns are absolutely miserable to shoot.
One other thing I'll add while we're talking about firearms and ammo and all that stuff is make sure you know your laws. Each state, each city, everybody's got different laws on these things. So just know what you can and can't do as far as when you're preparing. And even the knives, there may be situations where you get, you should not be carrying a certain length of a knife. A lot of people go out and buy the quote survival knives, and K-bars, whatever. That's all good and fine because a lot of that stuff is good, but they might be 10 foot long or something.
That's not carrying a katana around.
Yeah, that's not going to go over too well with certain people. So.
Yeah, and a lot of that, a lot of times you don't want to draw attention, and I mean, I'm sorry, you're not really going to conceal a 10-inch knife real well, and so I mean, people see it, desperate situations. Sometimes you never know what may happen, but you don't need a knife. I mean, if you want one, that's great. There's probably people going to jump on my ass because I said you don't need a knife that big, but honestly, you can process game, you can defend yourself with a 3 or 4 inch blade, and I don't see a reason to get real crazy unless you're like really in the woods, survival stuff. So
yeah, I think some of maybe like the bushcraft / camping stuff, you would want a bigger knife to be able to chop through bigger pieces of wood. But again, maybe that's what you need for your get home bag. Maybe you live in the woods and that's what you got to do to survive. So just remember, all this stuff is totally customizable based on your needs. We've given you some ideas today on some different things you can get, different ways to approach things, and why mentally you need to approach things a certain way. Like, well, why didn't I think of that? Sometimes you just need ideas thrown at you to kind of get your mind going. Maybe, you guys listening can come up with better ideas than what we have, and if you do, share it. Again, you can contact us via email, edpreparedness@gmail.com, on Twitter, edprepare, and facebook.com/edprepare. Let us know any ideas. If anybody's got good bags that you found that are smaller or lighter or cheaper or anything like that, throw it out there. So anything we're forgetting on today's show, Brent?
Well, I was just going to say, we were talking about, share your ideas and everything. Whenever we started doing this, we kind of considered it a conversation with everybody. This isn't us telling you what to buy and what you have to have and stuff like that. We're just trying to give you ideas that we have found helpful and useful. And, we're trying to start a conversation about this stuff just to help people in general. So, I mean, if you guys have something, please, by all means, share it. If we think it's good advice and it seems sound, we will share it. We will give you, you can say whatever. So just, keep that in mind. If you guys think we're full of crap on something, call us on it. We will gladly have a conversation about it. So.
And the whole reason we're doing this show in the first place is to build a community.
Yep.
And when I say build a community, I'm talking a worldwide community. The more people that prepare, even on the most minimal level, on the minimal budget, just having the right mindset and realizing the reason that anybody needs to prepare for anything on a regular basis, it's going to be a much more pleasant life for everyone in general when there's an emergency situation, because everybody's going to be able to take care of themselves a little bit better instead of relying on government or their neighbor or their family or whoever else to come in and step in. So.
Yep.
All right, with that, we'll close out the show. We're going to be covering bug-out bags next, which is one of the big things in the prepper community, so make sure you check that out. Stay tuned and stay safe. See you later.
Be good.